Oh, the second on the clock. Okay. I would now like to call the January 13th, 2026 Longmont City Council regular session to order. The live stream of this meeting can be viewed at the city's YouTube channel or longmontpublicmedia.org /watch or Comcast channels 8 and 880. Can we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Mayor Hidalgo Faring?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McCoy?
Present.
Councilmember Christ?
Present.
Councilmember Marcin?
Here.
Councilmember Prieto?
Present.
Councilmember Popkin?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum?
Okay, let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with Council's rules of procedure, the rules for providing public comment are as follows. Only Longmont residents and employees of the City of Longmont may speak during first call public invited to be heard. You must provide your address on the sign-up sheet before the meeting, or I will not call your name. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Anyone may speak on second reading or public hearing of an item. You are asked to add your name to the speaker list for the specific item before the meeting. Anyone may speak during final call public invited to be heard. Members of the audience shall refrain from vulgar, disruptive, or abusive language, applause, heckling, or other actions that interfere with the orderly function of council. May I have so we are now at the approval of the December 16th, 2025 minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, so the motion has been made by Mayor Pro Tem McCoy. And do I have a second?
Second.
And Councilmember Prieto has seconded that. Is there a discussion? Okay. Councilmember Christ. Hold on. There you go.
So I noticed we had a discussion early on in terms of our appointments to boards about the Airport Advisory Board. And after that, we had other appointments that we made where we were not able to fill the boards. And it says that council did not fill this seat. And I just want to be clear that there was no controversy in any of the other boards. And so I'm suggesting that maybe we add having the words having no other applications. That seat was not filled for whichever board it is.
Specifically, what page are you looking on?
I
just want to see the language.
And I'm trying to find it now because, let's see. Let me make sure I'm in the right one here. That happened later in the, so hang on.
Boards start on 16.
Thank you.
17 and 18. Yes.
Okay, I'm only on 10, so. hang on,
Okay, if you
17.
refer to 16 and 17?
So Callahan
Thank you,
has-
Councilor Marcy.
Yes.
Okay. So on page 16, there was a discussion about the Airport Advisory Board and reopening applications. And then later on, for instance, on 17, it is annotated that one vacancy was not filled without explanation. And whereas when it comes to the Golf Course Advisory Board, it says no applications were received for this board, thus 2 vacancies were not filled. So I just want to be consistent and say where, for instance, Housing and Human Services, we appointed one individual and then 3 vacancies were not filled. And so I would like to add a verbiage that says having no other applicants, 3 vacancies were not filled. Because then you go to Master Board of Appeals and it says no applications were received, thus 3 vacancies were not filled.
So Dawn, is that something we can just amend? Do you want, do you need a,
We can make that addition.
we can make that
no
addition? Okay,
Or that correction, amendment.
Okay.
And before we route them to you for final signature.
okay. Is anyone in opposition of making the adjustment for consistency in language? Okay. So, okay, let me go back to the main page. So we have an open motion. So to approve the December 16th, 2025 minutes with the clarification in board appointments. So Mayor Pro Tem, do you?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, okay, so let's go ahead and vote on the motion with the changes.
We do, we have
We
more
have
options.
We don't. We're not supposed to have all those options. Okay, so the minutes have been approved. They carry unanimously? Okay. I see Alex's name on there, but not yet. Okay. So now we are on to agenda revisions, submissions of documents, and motions to direct city manager to add future agenda items. Do we have any, are there any agenda revisions or motions to, for future agenda items? Councilmember Marcy.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we direct the city manager to place on the agenda for the February 3rd study session an item to review and discuss Rule 27, Sections F through M of the City Council Rules of Procedure related to board and commission appointments prior to the next board and commission recruitment cycle.
Seconded.
Okay, so the motion has been made by Councilmember Marcin, seconded by Councilmember McCoy. I accidentally turned you off. So I was going to ask if we had any discussion. Councilmember Popkin.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Marsing, for proposing this. Just for those of us who don't have the rules and procedures up in front of us, and for the members of the public here, could you just elaborate on what those specific rules refer to?
Yeah, essentially, Rule 27 was a rule added, my understanding, Mayor would have the history better, around 2019, 2020, that reestablished a new process for how boards and commissions were to be appointed, for how members were to be appointed. It essentially empowered boards to have a significant say in that overall process. Sections F through M specifically speaks to how that is to happen. Boards will interview candidates, recommend candidates, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not necessarily tonight commenting on the substance of what the conversation is. I'm saying we need to have that conversation about whether that specific section of our rules of procedure and how the board appointment process currently works is still working for us as a council. And that's and to do that before we open up the process again.
Thank you, Councilmember Marsing. And then the other question I had, I think maybe this is for the mayor. Do we have any study session yet planned where we're talking about kind of council's expectation, like process and expectations for what we desire from proactively from our boards and commissions yet? I know that topic came up a little bit at the end of last year, and so I'm just curious if that's scheduled yet.
So I had, during the last discussion, asked to be put on a future agenda, a discussion on our liaisons. But I'm almost wondering, and we'll once we discuss around retreat, that might be a better conversation for the retreat, since it's not actually, it might not be changing language. It's not going to be changing language on our rules of procedure. It's just how we conduct ourselves, and we're all on the same page for liaison, our conduct as liaisons. So I feel like those are two separate conversations, even though they're related to advisory boards.
Oh, that's
and
fine. I was just
commissions.
curious if that was.
So
in the
that,
works.
yeah, I don't want to interweave those two together. So yeah, so I
Okay,
hope
thank
that
you.
answers that.
It does. Thank
Okay,
you.
very good. Okay. Do we have any other? Okay. Okay, so if we don't have any other discussion on the matter, let's go ahead and vote. Okay, and the motion carries unanimously to add to a February 3rd study session item to discuss Rule 27 of our council rules and procedures. Okay, so now we are on to, unless we have, oh yeah, you do. There they go, thank you. Councilmember Christ.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we also bring back on February 3rd study session a discussion about our city flag and installing a new flagpole at the Civic Center.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion to discuss our city flag and what was the other piece?
Flagpole.
And a flagpole in front of our Civic Center was made by Councilmember Chris, seconded by Councilmember McCoy. Do we have any discussion on the matter? Councilmember Marcy.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question, Councilmember Christ. Is your hope with the motion and the discussion to discuss the appearance of the flag, the contents of the flag, or just hanging the current city flag in its own space in front of on a new flagpole? Like, what is the intent? Is it a broader conversation about the flag, or just about placement? Because we've had members of the public come forward and comment about the flag, so I'm looking to just wonder what the scope you're looking for here is.
Well, thank you, Councilor Marzing. First of all, I think we should fly the flag that we have, with pride, and we have it second to the Colorado flag at this time. It would be nice to have its own flagpole. But secondarily, this is also our America 250, Colorado 150 celebration year. And I realize that our flag is about 52 years old, and maybe this is a good time to reconsider and come up with a commemorative flag, perhaps to mark our 150th and 250th anniversary. And other members of the public have discussed this with our staff, and it seems like there would be some expense to putting in a new flagpole. One of the national initiatives is to create year of service for America 250. And so I would just like to have a discussion on February 3rd about what do we need to do to have that happen so that we can take it forward to the public, find funding for it if there is interest in it, and can make it happen.
So clarification on the it. So I heard you say it. So are you referring to the flagpole for public input on the flagpole, or public input on redesigning the flag?
Both would have some expense, so it'd be nice to know how much for each,
For each, okay.
and then see if we can get participation to do one or both.
Okay. So we're not making up our mind tonight. It would just be voting to put this on a future study session item. Are there any other questions? Okay, so let's go ahead and vote. Okay, so that carries, the motion carries 5-1 with Councilmember Marsing in dissent. Oh, okay. Well, we can bring it forward to discuss, and then you could say, I love the current flag, don't change it. So, okay. So now we're on to the city manager's report. Does the city manager have a report?
No report, Mayor, Council.
Okay, thank you. We are now on to special reports and presentations. So we are now at item A, the administration of oath of office to City Council Member Ward 3 after election by acclamation. I'm inviting our city clerk, Don Quintana, to administer oath of office to Councilmember Kalkoffer. And I hope I said it correct.
Test, test.
repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Alexander Kalkoffer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the laws of the State of Colorado,
the laws of the State of Colorado,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Longmont,
and the Charter and Ordinance of the City of Longmont.
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
And I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of Council Member Ward 3,
of the office of Council Member Ward 3,
upon which I'm about to enter,
about,
upon which,
I'm about to enter,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
you are now sworn in. Congratulations.
Thank you.
If you would just.
Okay, welcome to the fray. Okay, so we are now at item B, a proclamation designating January 12th through the 19th, 2026 as honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Week in Longmont, Colorado. So I would like to invite the members of the MLK Planning Committee to accept the proclamation, but before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation. So we have here a proclamation designating January 12th through the 19th, 2026 as honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Week in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas January 19th, 2026 marks Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on which we honor Dr. King's unwavering fight for the absence of oppression and the presence of opportunity for all, who sacrificed to sow the seeds for a movement of peace, equality, and justice. And whereas across the nation, in the state of Colorado, and in the city of Longmont, honoring Dr. King has become a week of service within our communities. Events held throughout Boulder County are made possible by the commitment and dedication of volunteers from diverse backgrounds, and whereas the combined efforts of those volunteers are a fulfillment of Dr. King's dream and highlight the importance of the civil rights movement and the need to act, and whereas Mr. Robert Trey Morris III, through his commitment to Longmont youth and families, has given many years of steadfast support to Martin Luther King Jr. programming and values throughout the community. Now, therefore, I, Susie Hidalgo Faring, Mayor by virtue of the authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim the week of January 12th through the 19th, 2026, as honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Week in Longmont, and invite all to attend this exciting program honoring Dr. King. Thank you. So would the members of the committee like to come on up and speak? There we go.
I'll figure it out eventually. First, I would like to take this opportunity. I have not spoken before the council since the last election. I want to take the opportunity to issue congratulations to those of you who have won new elections, to Mayor Susie Hidalgo Faring. We certainly appreciate you and your leadership. One thing that I did want to say specifically about the event, it'll be happening on the 16th of this week, on the 16th of this month, which is Friday of this week, at Silver Creek High School at 5:30. There will be refreshments to be had. And this year's program, we decided to focus on a letter from a Birmingham jail. If you have not read that, I would highly recommend you do. When you start reading it, it feels like it was written yesterday. To that, I would like to I find that if we have trouble finding the words, it's most wise to look at the words of the people who have come before us. So as far as I know, there are a lot of people who are nervous around the amount of protests that have popped up around the United States and things of that nature. So I would like to read an excerpt from the letter from Birmingham jail, if you will allow me. You may well ask, why direct action? Why sit-ins, marches, and so forth? Isn't negotiation a better path? You are quite right in calling for negotiation. Indeed, this is the very purpose of direct action. Nonviolent direct action seeks to create such a crisis and foster such a tension that a community which has constantly refused to negotiate is forced to confront this issue. It seeks to so dramatize the issue that it can no longer be ignored. My citing the creation of tension as part of the work of nonviolent resistor may sound rather shocking, but I must confess that I am not afraid of the word tension. I have earnestly opposed violent tension, but there is a type of constructive, nonviolent tension which is necessary for growth. And to that, I would say to those who are nervous about the nonviolent protests you've seen pop up, in honor of Dr. King, we should embrace that tension. We should push it because it will push for conversations with folks who refuse to have those. Once again, I thank you very much for the proclamation. I appreciate it, and I hope to continue to work with you all in the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good evening once again. My 47th year here in this town. I'm called Minister Glenda Strong Robinson, and I'm going on a 47th year resident of Longmont. Some of you may know, some of you may not. I was in that march with Dr. King, his very last march, on March 28th, 1968. And actually, I have a picture. I was looking at it with Trey this week. And in that last march, there were National Guardsmen, there were police officers, dogs, fire trucks with water hoses all around us. We're back there. We're back there today. And will we survive it? You bet we will. But we can't do it unless we do it together. And so this just triggers so many things. I see Arkansas is here. He and I share a passion for that time that we were. Freedom isn't free, folks. Somebody died for all of us, red, yellow, brown, black, white, to be sitting in the spaces that we're sitting in now. Sorry, I'm a preacher at my church, Second Baptist in Boulder. I won't preach to you, but I just want you to know freedom isn't free, and every one of us here has a voice that we can contribute. There is something we can do. First thing we can do is show up. Anyhow, I better stop.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you all, does anyone else want to come forward and speak? Okay. Okay. Would you all like a picture?
Yes.
Okay, we are now at first call, public invited to be heard. And I'm actually going to start by calling 3 names first. So the speaker and then the 2 other folks can just be ready to go.
Mayor, could I chime in? I
Yeah.
apologize. We are having a live stream issue.
Okay.
Wonder if you're welcome to keep going, but the live stream is not functioning 100%.
Okay. Do you
We
want
will need to pause we're waiting for some tech help. Sergio's on his way.
Okay. Okay. So this is it's not in-house, it's LPM issue? Is that, so there?
I'm not sure where the
Okay.
issue is 100%.
So I'm wondering if we should take a break?
Harold seems to think that might not be a terrible idea.
Well,
Okay.
I think if
Yeah.
we know Sergio's on his way,
Yeah.
if you want to move
Oh, is he coming? Oh. Are we good now? Okay.
We're good, all
perfect.
right.
All right, never mind.
Okay.
Take
Well,
your car to the mechanic.
okay, thanks. So the first name on the list is Pavel Ivanova. And I'm going to go ahead and Tom Smith and Lance Whitaker, if you 2 want to be ready to come on up next. And you may turn on your mic, and if you could restate your name, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Pavel Ivanov. Hi, and Happy New Year. Haven't seen you for a while. Council, today I would like to read an email by the CEO of Flock Safety to apparently all police department chiefs they work with, and at least the VA Staunton Police Department team. The email reads, I'm writing to you directly because I want there to be zero confusion about what's happening. Flock has never been hacked, ever. Flock is a built-in tools to help you fight the real crime affecting communities across the country. Many activists don't like that. Let's call this what it is. Flock and the law enforcement agencies we partner with are under coordinated attack. The attacks aren't new. You've been dealing with this forever, and we've been dealing with this since our founding, from the same activist groups who want to defund the police, weaken public safety, and normalize lawlessness. Now they're producing YouTube videos with misleading headlines. They're also trying to turn a public records process into a weapon against you and against us. I don't think we're attacking Flock. I also don't think that proposing civil discussion in a lawful and timely manner in front of police department and elected council is bad. I think that all residents of Longmont are insanely grateful to have you and being able to see actual change. It's always good. I also wanted to touch upon the point of weaponizing public records. I do want to give the guys some points here. I agree that people should not be able to subpoena or request footage and information from a system with such an insanely broad and indiscriminate data of citizens. I think, however, he wouldn't agree with my reasons. FOIA and similar requests have existed decades before Flock came to life. In fact, the CEO was born after FOIA was requested. It is a very important tool that allows citizens to support the system's checks and balances. It is not a weapon against council members or the police, but it does allow us to spot out the possible bad apples, and I think in that case, Flock and similar indiscriminate automatic tracking tools is the bad apple. And after all, if Flock didn't want to be subjected to FOIA risks, it shouldn't have signed contracts with public tax-funded government. That is all. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Okay, Tom Smith.
Good evening. My name is Tom Smith. I live at 1049 Champion Circle. Rather than congratulate all of you in election time, I'd say thank you, more so than for serving and willingness to participate. I think that's very important. I have a letter I've drafted that I've addressed to the mayor, city council, and my purpose is twofold tonight. For the last 3 years or so, I've been entrenched in learning about annexation, development, city codes, building, yada, yada. And 2 things that come from this that I need to share is I got a lot of nice help from a lot of good staff people, not to mention the Texas Tech Red Raiders going down tubes. The two things that I'd like to share with you are two requests. That these are mine, and these are based on the education that the city provided me, I'd say. Number one is that the document known as Envision Longmont be suspended immediately and until such time it is modified, updated, or discarded. Secondly, I'd ask that my subdivision be returned to single-family zoning. And to summarize and give you some insight to some of this, I have prepared, and I will leave with the city clerk, a variety of documents. This one you might recognize comes from Envision Longmont, and Mr. Penland and one of his staff gave me some insight to it, and I'm sorry, but it doesn't have the kind of support and validity that I think the Longmont people deserve. As well as there are contradictions in it, in Envision Longmont, that contradict the 9th edition of the Planner's Guide that was edited by one of the same people from Clarion who had a hand in Envision Longmont. I also was able to do something fairly straightforward. I find a lot of language in it ambiguous, and there are a lot of wiggle room things. I ran the reading test on it. Take a shot at what reading level it is. 14th grade. And a couple of teachers here might know that that's not close to the average reading level for the American public. And then with my subdivision, there were a number of issues that were done either incorrectly or with bad information. And I'll give these documents to the city clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Lance Whitaker?
And excuse me, my wife is ill and I'm going to go home and be a husband.
Yep, take care of her. Thank you. Okay, and then following Lance, Matthew Spencer, and then Madeline Strong-Woodley.
Hi, Mayor and Council. My name is Lance Whitaker. Sorry, I'm sort of working off a media I'm not used to. I lost my list. Lance Whitaker, 1750 Collier Street, Longmont, Colorado. I've been a resident for about 44 years. I'd like to mention today is National Shop for Travel Day, National Korean American Day, National Sticker Day. We got enough of those all over town. National Stephen Foster Memorial Day, National Peach Melba Day. I love peach melba. And also National Rubber Ducky Day. And if you got a Jeep, you probably got several of those on your dashboard. So it is also Mickey Mouse's first comic strip came out today. And that's all I have today. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Great, thank you. Matthew Spencer?
Is there a way to display an image?
Dawn, can they display an image?
We request that they're sent ahead of time.
Oh, okay. The office said to bring it and put it like in the moment.
If you send it to us, I can send it to them.
We can send it to them.
Yeah.
If you send it to them.
Okay, great. All right. Good evening, Longmont City Council. My name is Matthew Spencer. I'm the Associate Pastor at Christ Church International on Main Street.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. On Main Street, right across the street from the Pump House and the Chamber of Commerce building. I'm also this year, as of today, the new chair of the Ambassadors Committee representing the Longmont Area Chamber of Commerce to new businesses. So anyone want to join the chamber, you're welcome to. I'm here today to talk about the official Longmont City flag. For years, it bothered me that very few people even knew that Longmont has an official city flag. Furthermore, it bothered me that the Civic Center itself wasn't even flying our official flag. A while back, I reached out to you, the council, and the city manager by email about this issue, and I'd like to thank Assistant City Manager Sandy for getting the flag flying again last year underneath the Colorado flag. But I'd also like to continue this by initiating and catalyzing two things this year as the celebrations take place around America and Colorado to mark our 250th anniversary as a nation and our 150th year as a state. Number one, I'd like to see, and I'm super thrilled to hear Diane Christ, a permanent third flagpole to be installed right here outside our Civic Center to fly our official Longmont flag. I feel that if we don't have a designated flagpole to celebrate our city, it could very easily accidentally not be flown again and then once again disregarded for years to come. And I'm also noticing I don't see a flag in this room, which would be great. Secondly, so I think we need to celebrate our heritage and have, we need to fly the flag we have. That's where we need to start. Right there. Right on. Thank you. Secondly, I want to ask the council to begin the process and swift execution of, I would like to see a new Longmont flag for the future as our city becomes a major competitive player in the county and the state. While we should celebrate the legacy of the old flag, it is a bit of a head scratcher. It doesn't really represent our city very well. A new, better flag will help unite us, help people have a sense of identity and inclusivity. The flag should be very simple, beautiful, easily identifiable. I think that the Twin Peaks should definitely be on it. That will help clearly symbolize our city and people group. I think a Colorado color scheme would be great. I've brought two images that hopefully you can all see. I don't know if they're up yet. So let's celebrate Longmont with a new flag. Okay, great. So I had my friend Chat helped render what a third flagpole would look like out here, and Sandy says it costs $7,000. So I'd love to see the city get it done. I've already talked to the Rotary Club, and also Kiwanis Club. So I'd like to see that happen somehow. I know there's a way to get it up there because I think we need to celebrate. The big thing is celebrate Longmont. And I designed a flag I'm wearing here on the hat. And I call this the Celebrate Longmont flag, and the idea is to celebrate Longmont. Let's fly a flag. So thank you all. Thank you so much for what you do. We pray for you guys.
Okay, thank you, Matthew.
Thanks.
Madeline? And then following Madeline, we have Strider and then Paul. Stalls.
Good evening, everyone. It is so good to see you guys. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. I want to just share with you that in addition to the Martin Luther King celebrations that are phenomenal, I would love to see everyone there. That's January the 16th and the 18th. And in addition to that, I wanted to also make you aware that with the dissolution of the NAACP Boulder County branch, our organization, the Executive Committee for African American Cultural Events, is, ECASE is the short version, will be making sure that nothing goes lacking in terms of the services that we delivered in collaboration with the NAACP. And there will be a formal announcement coming out. You'll get the press release is going out tomorrow morning, and I will make sure that it gets here so you can spread the word. Nothing will go undone. We're here. That's ECASE, Executive Committee for African American Cultural Events, ECASE. ECASE.org for any other information. And thank you so much for your usual support. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Strider.
Yeah. Got my whistle. Strider Benston, 951 17th. My daughter lives in Minneapolis, right near where they murdered George Floyd, so I haven't been able to reach her the last couple of days, but as my shirt make Renee good trouble. Yeah. some of y'all know that my guide, my colleague, my friend, Martin Luther King, he would have been 97 years old in 2 days. 61 years ago in January, I walked to Selma in a freezing rain. It took me 5 days. I got to Selma and a bunch of kids gathered around me, said, "What's your name?" I said, "Jim." He said, "Jim, where are you from?" I said, "Arkansas." "Arkansas, your name Arkansas." So that's still my name in the movement. Everyone in the movement calls me Arkansas, except for Stokely Carmichael. He called me Jim because I met him before the movement. He's the one that recruited me into the movement. But I listened to Fannie Lou Hamer speak on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, and that's what brought me in. The people of Selma scheduled me on an airplane flight and a hotel room this March, but the Boulder Elite blocked me from going, so I'm not supposed to be able to be there after 61 years in the movement. I walked in a freezing rain, but I was organizer, rank and file in the Teamsters and the mail handlers unions. And just one thing, I organized a demonstration at the Teamsters Hall in Chicago in support of the Farm Workers Union. Their agents were killing farm workers, organizers at the time, and stealing the contracts from the growers to diss the farm workers. Dolores Huerta created the union, and Ella Baker basically created the civil rights movement. She organized both SNCC and SCLC, but history is illegal in this country, and I'm a historian, so that's why I'm not allowed to speak. My book, If White Kids Die, might still be in the library. It's about 1 month of my life in 1965.
Thank you, Strider. Thank you. Good. Okay. No clapping. So keeping the orderly conduct of the meeting, but thank you. Paul Stalls.
Good evening. Okay. I'd just like to share some concerns over the management of Ute Creek Golf Course. I'll be the first to say this is not exactly a big problem and seems petty compared to some of the other topics, but I just want to give you some feedback so you know what's going on. None of the issues are particularly earth-shattering, but I think in the accumulation, they represent a decline in standards at a time when costs have increased dramatically, so I just want to bring it to your attention. Firstly, this summer I noticed many of the bore wash stations, I told you this was not on the same magnitude as the other topics, had been removed. I asked management why, and they said, I asked staff why, and they said, the management doesn't like them. So I emailed Keith Martin, no reply. I followed up, was introduced to Dan Reese on the second attempt, golf course supervisor, and received a reply, removed due to costs to maintain and to reduce some of the clutter around the tee boxes. So I replied back saying, clutter, I don't understand what that is. What are you talking about? And I've not since had a reply. These bore stations are about $250 each. So a whole bunch of new ones have been put in at Twin Peaks. But at Ute Creek, we're removing them. Secondly, due to concerns about slow pay, you probably know if you're a golfer, you're limited to a maximum of 4 players. So we, the customers, are expressly limited and stopped from playing as a group of 5 if you've got an extra friend or anything. So but I've noticed frequently there are groups of 5 playing. I didn't give my address, Sundance Drive. I oversee, my house backs onto Ute Creek Golf Course. So I asked the staff, I said, have you changed your policy? I noticed some 5s playing. They're like, no. And I said, well, what about the group yesterday morning? Oh, they're employees. That's okay, they're employees. Okay. Another time I was playing as a single, the group in 4 I caught up with in front of me, and they turned around and said, do you want to play with me? Do you want to play with us? Which was very nice. I said, well, no, I'm okay, but actually I can't. We're not supposed to play unless we're 4's the max. And they said, oh, it's okay, we work here, was the reply. So both examples show a culture of entitlement and hypocrisy and putting the employees' desires ahead of the customers. Thirdly, in the summer, I saw a trench had been dug between the 5th and 6th holes, and it's filled with several thousand range balls. Got a picture of that here too. This is just part of the trench. You can obviously look at it at your leisure. So it's not covered. They're just dumped there. You know, range balls don't compost as far as I'm aware. So I don't know what the thinking was or why we're doing that. So in conclusion, the decline in standards seems to have happened at the same time as prices have gone from 40 to 50 for a round at the weekend to this weekend, one of the rounds on Saturday is $98. So over the last 3 years, prices have doubled, going up 10, 15% a year cumulatively. Standards have dropped, and I'm sharing this feedback in the hope that one of 3 things will happen. At the very least, whoever Dan and Keith report to, let's give them this feedback, and hopefully they take the feedback seriously. Even better, if there's a formal annual review process, this decline in standards is considered in their evaluation and any merit increases. And thirdly...
And that is time. Can you send us the email of that? Do you
I
have
have the email as well.
Oh, perfect.
My final point would just
for
be if the...
I'm sorry, the time is up, so I
Okay.
have to follow the rules.
All right. I think they're over-incentivized on profitability,
Okay,
and
thank
services
you.
are dropping, and they should be
Thank you.
revisited.
Okay, I don't want to disregard that, but we are moving to the next person, Scott Stewart.
Mayor, members of council, Scott Stewart, 229 Grant Street. During your retreat conversation on 12C, if you could please include, try to include on the agenda, conversation around the airport. The impact that the airport that has on those of us on the ground is a real one. The airport has some basic rules and regulations that don't get followed. There's a lack of communication when violations occur. There's a lack of any kind of written documentation of violations. Incident reports are pretty much non-existent. The airport has, and I think you've done a lease review over the last couple of months, but the inconsistency in the application of the lease policies, it's pretty bad, pretty offensive to some people that are looking for 30-year leases that probably shouldn't have got them, and some people that wish to have them, what have you. The idea that increased air traffic for the sake of increasing the number of operations is not a benefit to Longmont. We got a lot of flights here that don't spend any time in Longmont. They don't spend any time on the ground. They don't refuel here. They're just an increase in numbers. This airport can be better. Review needs to be done of the financial obligations. There needs to be more financial transparency. The information provided to the public needs to be accurate. Please take time, review the airport. It can be better than what it is. Doesn't need to shut down. It's not going to shut down for 20 years, even if you wanted it to. But this airport needs to be run better so that everybody in Longmont is not negatively affected by things that don't positively happen at the airport. Wow, that was a word mess. Have a good night. Oh, and happy Rubber Ducky Day.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Jacob McCallum.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jacob McCallum. I'm here today. This is my first city council meeting ever, and I'm here just because of a topic that's really important to me. I'm here to talk about the flock safety cameras that are around the city. I think right now we're living in a time where government trust is at almost an all-time low. You know, I don't think it's controversial for me to say that. And I know as somebody who's 21 years old myself, that is absolutely the case among young people who are growing up in this city. And I think that the cameras everywhere are eroding trust with the government especially. And I think local government is something that could really help improve this issue. You know, like Ultimately, surveillance is a form of control over people. If you're feeling watched, you're not going to behave the same way as you would when you don't feel watched. So regardless of how much we trust the government, regardless of how much we trust the police, ultimately that is a problem that will erode trust with those people. And it doesn't have to be abused. It doesn't have to be anything. It is like taking the bedroom door off of somebody's room. It doesn't matter if anybody's going to abuse that. It is still a problem, and we still need privacy, right? Any one of us who drive down 119 to go to work every day, that is being recorded somewhere. Our license plate is recorded. Our location is recorded. Exactly what time that is recorded. If you go to work, when you leave is recorded, and when you come back is recorded. And ultimately, the safety policies around this data is not safe. And even if you believe that the government should be allowed to have that access to that data, ultimately, that is not the only people who do have access to that data. And I do not trust any private actors with that information. That's it. I yield my time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else on the list, I will now close public invited to be heard. And we are now on to item 9, consent agenda and introduction and reading by title of first reading and ordinances. City Clerk, can you please read the consent agenda into the record?
Absolutely, Mayor. The second reading and public hearing for the ordinances introduced tonight on this consent agenda will be held on January 27th, 2026. Item 9A is ordinance 2026-01, a bill for an ordinance making additional appropriations for expenses and liabilities of the City of Longmont for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2026. Item 9B is ordinance 2026-02, a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 14.42 of the Longmont Municipal Code to reduce the size of the Art and Public Places Commission and modernize the Art and Public Places program. Item 9C is Resolution R-2026-01, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Colorado Department of Public Safety, Division of Criminal Justice, Office for Victims of Crime Act, VOCA, grant funding for Longmont Victim Services. 9D is Resolution 2026-02, a resolution of the Longmont City Council concerning the electric vehicle charging systems permitting process. Item 9E is Resolution 2026-03, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Boulder Regional Emergency Telephone Service Authority for public safety answering point funding. 9F is Resolution 2026-04, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving an agreement between the City of Longmont and the Longmont Humane Society for animal welfare services for 2026. And 9G is designate the city's website as the official posting location for city council agendas. And Mayor, staff would like to remove item 9F from the consent agenda.
Okay. Are there any other items that council would like to remove? Councilmember Popkin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to remove item 9D.
Okay. Okay. So see no one else in the queue. Oh, you turned off your mic. Is there anyone who would like to move the consent agenda minus D and F?
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, so the consent agenda minus items D and F has been moved by Mayor Pro Tem McCoy and seconded by Councilmember Popkin. Let's go ahead and vote. Okay, and that carries unanimously. Okay, there are no ordinances on second reading and public hearings on any matter. So we are now back to items removed from the consent agenda. And we'll go ahead and start with item D. Councilmember Popkin.
Yes, thank you. I mostly just had one question for staff and then just a comment overall. This concerns the electric vehicle charging systems permitting process. I just wanted to commend staff actually for being ahead of the state. Sometimes the state forces mandates upon us. In this case, we wanted to proceed with a certain permitting process we have. And from what I understand, this has been kind of the administrative approval process, and we are not being asked to change that. We can continue to follow that process, correct?
Good evening, Mayor, Councilmember Popkin. That's correct, yes.
Yeah, and the administrative process here not only makes sense, but I've personally gone through it, and it's smooth and it's straightforward as long as the electrical is done well. So I just wanted to thank staff and the city for having a smooth process. My only other question I had is, and maybe this is more of an LPC question, but do we know if we still have rebates for residential or commercial chargers? Is that still, have we exhausted the funding for that? Thank you, Daryl. I'm seeing we've exhausted that, so that's good news that we've exhausted that. But for anyone still considering putting in a charger, it's a pretty straightforward process as long as you do it well. I appreciate staff's work on this.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to move Resolution 2026-2? Oh, you did? So moved. Okay, and I will second that. Okay, so the Resolution 2026-02 has been moved by Councilmember Popkin, and I have seconded that. Let's go ahead and vote. Okay, and that carries unanimously. We are now on to item F, Resolution 2026-4, pulled by staff. Oh, yes.
Surprised you, Mayor.
I know, I wasn't even looking at that corner.
Yeah. Mayor and Council, Eugene May, City Attorney. So staff asked to pull this item because Councilmember Prieto raised an issue with the Humane Society contract on page 5. There are 3 paragraphs regarding undocumented immigrants. The history of those paragraphs is there was a state bill that required this language be in contracts. That bill has since been repealed. We were using an old version of the Humane Society contract. These paragraphs should have been removed, and unless I hear objection from council, we will remove these paragraphs before executing the contract with Humane Society.
Okay. Thank you for that. And thank you for catching that, Councilmember Prieto. Is there anyone who, okay, nope. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2026-4? Motion. Okay, so that item has been moved by Councilmember Prieto. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, and it's been seconded by Councilmember Marcin. Let's go ahead and vote. Okay, the motion carries unanimously. We are now on to our general business item in 12A. So that is an amendment to the 2023 action plan for home funding to fund Habitat for Humanity of the St. Vrain Valley Rogers Road Housing Development Project instead of Sunset Duplexes project.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Christy Wiseman, I'm the housing investment manager for the city, and we have a crew for any questions you may have. So also with me is Alexis McCowan from the HCI team, who's our federal funds program manager. And then we also have Megan Sant, who's my counterpart, the housing investment manager for the city of Boulder. So we don't have a presentation prepared tonight, but just wanted to take this grant project swap question to you. And in essence, Habitat, in working with city staff as well as City of Boulder staff through the Home Consortium, is asking us to switch our 2023 award between 2 of their projects. So the award amount will stay the same at that $184,712, but the Rogers Road project is further along in entitlements. It's shovel ready. And then it also recently received another different type of home funding through the consortium that the City of Boulder manages called the Chodo Set Aside. And so we essentially want to improve efficiencies by putting all of the federal funding on the Habitat project that's most ready to proceed. So this request did come. Habitat and Longmont and Boulder and Habitat are all in alignment with this swap. So we just need your formal approval to make that change. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions of council? Okay, Councilmember Popkin?
Thank you very much for bringing this forward and for all the work that's been going on, I presume, in the back end for a lot of the shifting here. What's the downside if we didn't? Like, what's the consequence? The projects slow down because the funding would be redistributed to projects that aren't shovel ready?
Yeah, so one of the main downsides is then we would have two projects that are requiring the same level of HUD compliance through the home program, in our view, unnecessarily. So we would have to do the same level of compliance on Sunset Duplexes and Rogers Road, as opposed to concentrating our monitoring on just one project. And then because Rogers Road is more shovel ready, it's materially funded. There is a chance that if this $184,000 award is not granted, Habitat may have a gap. So they might have to come back to the city, for example, for our affordable housing fund round in 2026, and it would just delay the project. But they are essentially, they have their entitlements and they're ready to complete construction as soon as the award grant agreements are executed per the federal funds.
Thank you. So in effect, we're actually, by consolidating these two, not by bundling the two together, basically you're actually streamlining the oversight in some ways, because one project follows all of I mean, they both have to follow the rules if they receive the funding. In this case, one project gets all of the funding, and so the same requirements still have to be met anyway, and the other project has more flexibility. Is that the kind of notion right now?
Yeah, essentially there are a lot of federal regulations that come into play, especially with procurement. So when Habitat goes to procure their general contractor to do the actual construction work, the steps that they have to take and the way they have to do that bidding is very specific to CFR 200 and those federal rules when there's home funds in play. And so they're happy to do that for one project, but if we can remove this $184,000 would be the only federal source on the Sunset Duplexes project, and that's a relatively small amount of money for how much compliance comes with it. So we'd prefer to stack all the federal funds on one project just for monitoring efficiency. And if HUD comes and monitors us, they're looking at
Just
one
one
project as opposed to two.
Yeah, great. Thank you for explaining that. Appreciate it.
Okay. Councilmember Christ.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Christy, are you going to be short on the Sunset Duplexes at some point and have to apply for more funding to finish those?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Councilmember Crest, and I did see your email earlier this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to reach out to Dave Emerson, who's the executive director of Habitat. My understanding is the Sunset Duplexes project is so much further behind in Habitat's kind of development planning that they have more time. I don't know for sure whether they plan to come in to supplant this $184,000 with, for example, another affordable housing fund ask. The last time I saw a pro forma for that project was over 6 months ago, so I'm not sure what other fundraising Habitat has done in the meantime on Sunset Duplexes. But this request for this award swap did come from Habitat, and so Habitat is asking for this change to help them meet their development capacity, because they can really only focus on so many projects at a time, and that one's just a little further behind.
Yeah, okay. So we'll probably be seeing something about Sunset again, but we have time to work on it.
Yeah, exactly. And if they were to come ask for more funding for that project, we would get an updated pro forma, sources and uses, and work with Habitat to see what's changed with the funding picture for Sunset in the last several months since I've last seen the pro forma for that project.
Okay. Thank you, Christy.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion to approve the 2023 home grant award allocation as amended? Okay.
Second.
So the motion has been made by Mayor Pro Tem McCoy, seconded by Councilmember Christ. And we can go ahead and vote. If there's no further discussion. Okay, and the motion carries unanimously. We are now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we are now on to our city council appointments, liaison appointments to boards. So there is no formal staff presentation. What's that?
I said let's party.
Let's party. Like, yeah. So do we need a break before this? No. Maybe after. Okay. So there is no staff presentation. It's really just for us to ask of council to discuss if any board's assignments, what would you like to have reshuffled for Councilmember Kalkofer? And I believe we have the spreadsheet on our document, so if you want to pull that up. And did anyone want to start? Okay, we'll start with Councilmember Popkin.
Well, I'll kick things off. I had a productive member with prospective Councilmember Kalkofer, and I know he's passionate about transportation and the North Area Transportation Alliance, a regional board and an important one for making sure that everything is connected, literally and figuratively, in the region. I wanted to offer that. It didn't perfectly work with my schedule, but I was interested in it, and it sounds like it does for him. So I wanted to put that on the table.
Nada, yeah. And, okay. Was there anything else? Oh, okay, okay. So, Councilmember Prieto?
Yes, I had two boards that did not work for me. It was the Visit Longmont board along with the Sustainability board. I did email Councilor Kalkofer, and he said that they would work perfect with his schedule. So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, great. So I have one internal and two regional. Okay. Councilmember Marcin.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, as much as it pains me, because I was very much looking forward to getting the work started, and I'd already met with some of these folks, but I do think in terms of proximity, his skill set, his interests, I think LDDA would be a good fit for Councilmember Kalkofer, so I'm happy to hand that one over, and I don't think my wife will be bothered if I miss another meeting, if I have less meetings. So.
Okay, Councilmember Kalkofer.
I will happily take all of those, if that's okay with you, Mayor. And then I
Yes.
was curious about the commuting solution.
I was going to get to that. I was going to let everybody throw their suggestions out there, 2 cents, and then I was going to wanted to confirm if commuting solutions as the non-voting liaison member would work for you. I think, yeah. It is the liaison, and I have here that it's non-voting. So, yeah. But if that works for your schedule, there you go. No wonder you're not answering me.
That one does work for my schedule. And then there's also one other transportation one that has not been assigned. And I wasn't sure if Cammie, if you figured out what location and what day and time those were. Still working on it. There's one more.
Which one was that?
Yeah, which one was that? Was it the Northern Colorado Highway 287?
Yes.
Coalition,
Yes.
okay.
Because there's confusion about, is it Boulder or is it in Loveland? Also.
So the 287 safety improvement projects, there is a section that is on the south side of Longmont that is run by Boulder County. And then there's the section that's receiving improvements on the north side of Longmont, which might also have a group in Loveland and or the Larimer County. So we're just trying to confirm that they're looking for representatives from Longmont on both. For sure, the Boulder County one, that's on the south side of Longmont, but both are active projects right now. So we just want to make sure that we have the right coverage in the right places. So we're just confirming if there's two coalitions or really just one coalition. But the one in Boulder is not in question. It's the one up north. We just want to make sure that we have the right details for first.
Okay, thank you.
That helps, yeah.
So in the event something comes open, we can,
I think, yeah, if I can confirm, just to make sure we can follow up, and then you can assign that second 287 group if there is in fact one.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
So I have 5 total boards for you. only one, well, one is the, an internal and the other 4 are regional. And then just kind of looking at, you know, where everybody else feels. Was there anything else you wanted to throw his way? Are we good for now? And, yeah, and then the other one too, and Councilmember Popkin, this one is directed to you. If you are feeling, now that you've had a chance to look through the list, if you need me, if you want me to pick up Dr. Cog as the, and you be the alternate, that one meets Wednesday evenings in Denver. The Denver Regional Council of Governments, and it is the Wednesday. Yeah, I think they started at 4, but it's like a dinner deal before it gets started. So go ahead, Councilmember Popkin.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the usual like window for the meeting? Like, is it a 2-hour, 3-hour, 15-hour? What's the?
It depends on who. Stop. Okay, I see where you're going with that. I know they started, if I recall correctly, and I don't know if they've changed it, but I think it went like 6 to 9 or like a 6:30. I thought there was a dinner, even though it shows 4 o'clock here.
Oh.
And I'll follow up with that time frame. And I knew the Mayor Peck had often just stayed the night over there when she went because it went late.
Oh.
So, you know, I wanted to throw that back out there. I am fine with just keeping it the way it is, but I wanted to throw that out there for you now that you had a chance to digest, you know, your assignments.
Yeah, I didn't know it was. Okay, that's useful to know because technically I have that in the Planning and Zoning Commission on the same day. I was planning to go back to back.
Oh.
But if it's a like 4 to sleepover situation.
Yeah, I would not be sleeping over. I'll be driving back at night.
More than maybe we can take this off. Like, does this have to be decided right now, or can
It
we think
doesn't.
about that?
Don,
just
and I'm
new
going to defer to
information,
you.
yeah.
Is that okay if we discuss offline, if we want to switch roles, or do we need to do a formal?
I think it's up to you. If you'd like for us to, Dr. Cog will be looking to know who the voting appointee
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
With some clarity, I think, so.
Yeah. Well, and I
Perhaps-
think, yeah. So do you want us to decide tonight?
It'd be helpful, but
Okay.
if you need more time and you want to monitor it, we can just let them know you're going to see how it goes and alternate, or let us know what you decide.
I mean, do you want to try the first meeting, see how it goes, and then let me know?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I was very interested in it and supporting the city in that way.
Yeah.
And I guess.
And it's historically, you know, I've spoken with other mayors who often just assign a council member to do that.
Mhm.
So it's not unheard of that the mayor is
Sure.
there. I just wanted to throw that out because I know the former mayor had picked it up.
Yeah, maybe.
In keeping
Yeah,
with
let me think about it.
tradition.
I'm wondering if maybe we tag team this depending on what the Planning and Zoning Commission has on their agenda,
That can work as
and
well.
maybe we can kind of share that.
Okay.
But yeah, let's take that offline if that's okay for
Sure.
Dawn.
We'll let you do it, and then
Yeah,
we'll see
if
where
that works.
we land. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you
No
for
worries.
flagging that.
Yep. Of course. Okay. So I believe, are we good to go?
Yeah, I noted, just to recap.
Yes.
For Councilmember Kalkofer, NADA, Visit Longmont, Sustainability Advisory Board, LDDA, and Commuting Solutions, and then the pending 287 coalition, once we decipher what's happening there,
Okay.
is all I've noted. That's all.
Okay, that's what I have as well. It's a load. Okay, so now we are on to item C, our 2026 City Council Retreat Agenda Planning. And before, Sandy, before you come, do we need to take a break? Are we good? Okay, we're going to keep on plugging through.
All right. Hello, Mayor Hidalgo Faring and members of council. Sandy Cedar, Assistant City Manager, and I'm here to talk about the retreat. Currently, your retreat is scheduled for March 27th and 28th. We are taking a look at some different options for where we might hold the retreat. One thing that I do want to bring up to this group as we're kind of discussing and planning is that we believe that that will be the same time frame as the opening of the Ascent property. I know it's tough to get to a ribbon cutting during the day, unless you might be at a retreat. And so just as a suggestion, if you're interested in us taking a look at whether we could have the retreat either at the Ascent property or at Hearthstone, if that's something that's interesting to you, we would be happy to pursue that. Yeah. So we have a whole bunch of questions for you today. As I said, the retreat is scheduled for March 27th and 28th. And as we put together a draft agenda for you, we would like to ask a couple of questions, like what kinds of topics would you like to discuss? Would you like to have an outside facilitator? Are you interested in some sort of team building or communication enhancing kind of discussion amongst the council? Essentially what we're looking for is what would make the retreat a success for this city council. We talked a little bit about in the council communication. We'll certainly give you an update on the current council work plan as it sits today. That doesn't have to be a presentation. It can absolutely be just something in writing that we're able to put as part of the packet. We'll also put our accomplishments and work plans because we always do. And then it really is up to this council to discuss your priorities for the year, as well as maybe some other topics like boards and commissions. If you decide you want to do it on the study session instead, then that's taken care of. But you also may be interested in outreach. I know there's been a couple of conversations around, is coffee with council the best way to do engagement today? It may be one component, but maybe there's some other things that the council would like to discuss. So those are some of the topics that I've heard the council talk about so far, but really the floor is up to you. Several of you did send me some ideas and suggestions, which I forwarded to the entire council. So at this point, I turn it back over to you, Mayor. You let me know what you all would like to see.
Okay. Thanks. I know I was playing around with trying to figure out how we wanted to go through each item. I do appreciate the emails, and thank you for forwarding those to us. It gave me a better insight into kind of where everybody's at. And, you know, I kind of see a lot of alignment in some of those, you know, especially as we looked at team building. I know there was not wanting to get too caught up in the frou-frou. And, you know, I'm not going to go into work stuff, but I've been there, yes. I just want to throw in really quick before we start getting into the meat of what we want to add. I really enjoyed it was Brian Shimamoto, who did the intercultural development inventory, and I had to go contact Carmen and like help me remember what was the name of that. So looking at that really helped me to understand what type of leader I am, how I perceive information, how I take in information, but also how my council colleagues take in information, how they respond. And that really helped me become a better, more efficient leader, more responsive leader, as well as, you know, responding to my council colleagues, who also were a part of this training. Was anyone here? Were you here for that one? Did you take the survey? I think you.
No, I didn't take the survey, but I was there for the results.
Okay.
Council, and it was
And so there is, yeah, and I thought it was very powerful for me for self-reflective piece. So I think about team building. I mean, there could be something fun, but it doesn't seem like that's necessary. But if we look at really how we are as leaders, how we react to things, how we respond to situations, and for us to learn that about each other, I think that would be very beneficial. Does anyone have any, or go ahead if you want to speak more to that.
I was just going to say one of the suggestions, I think, from Councilmember Chris was the Clifton Strengths Finder. I have certainly taken that assessment before, and that has been very helpful.
Okay.
Harold has a few other assessments that he uses along with his consultant, Riley. And so if that's the kind of thing that you're
Yes.
interested in, we'd be happy to kind of, talk about what would make the most sense and bring back that kind of thing. Where you
Perfect.
take an assessment and then learn about each other's styles as opposed to an icebreaker.
Yeah. No, I think that would be more beneficial.
Okay.
I think we've already broken the ice around here. So yeah, and So, okay, oops, and I think, go ahead, Councilmember Popkin, yes.
Yeah, just a quick follow on that topic for a minute, and then I'd love to hear from other council members on their ideas. When we do this kind of a session, can we also think of not just what are each other's strengths, but also how do people work together most effectively
That's what-
across those different approaches? Sometimes that gets lost in the approach.
Yeah,
Is that
and
part
so
of that?
that's part of
built
it.
in?
Yes,
Okay, great.
that's what
Just
I
wanted to
really
make sure
like
that
about
was
it.
included. Thank you.
Yes.
We actually have one that is AI based that you can put questions in. Like I could say, I need to talk to Sandy about this. How do I best communicate to Sandy? And it actually gives you a game plan for the conversation so that you make sure your style is communicating to the other person's style.
That
It
would
is-
be interesting, but wait. So my style is inputted in AI?
No, so you take a
Who
test
I am
and,
is-
and it tells you kind of this is you, and it tells me who Sandy is, and then we go, okay, I need to talk to Sandy about this, and it gives me a game plan to make
Okay.
sure that we're actually communicating with each other.
Okay.
It's a closed data loop.
It's a closed
It's a
data
closed data
system.
loop. It doesn't go,
Yeah.
it's not Chat GPT.
it's not.
Okay.
In
No,
the cloud, it's
Okay,
a closed
yeah.
data system where after you take your
The
assessment
way
and I
Susie
take my
behaves is out
assessment.
there in the ethos. Okay. Councilmember Prieto?
This is not my recommendation for the retreat, but
Oh.
just a comment to your
Oh,
suggestion.
yes, please, yeah.
So, and I just want to put it out there. I think it's going to be really important, like the kind of that relationship building piece, because a lot of how we work comes from who we are and our roots and our background. And so I think it's going to be important to like really learn about one another and where we're from and how we were raised and
Yes.
different things like that in order to fully understand that makes sense that
Yes,
this person's
yes.
work style is this or their communication style is this. And so just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
So like along with that discussion, making sure that we have that foundation of like just getting to know one another.
Yeah, and I noticed like having those conversations did allow us to share out and to get an understanding of who we are.
Yes, gotcha.
But yeah, so if we can make sure that's incorporated in there. Who are you? Mayor Pro Tem McCoy. I was like, who's number 4?
Thank you, Mayor. I was looking at some of the council members' thoughts on this, and I really did like Councilmember Kolkoffer. Am I saying that right? Okay.
Kofer.
The meat and potatoes part of what we're trying to do here in the sense of council goals and objectives and revisiting that aspect and the fact that people kind of needing to understand the broader aspects of Envision Longmont and the updates and aspects of that. And then, I think of the fire preparedness. I think it's specifically after a couple of plane crashes and stuff like that out at the airport, how with very flammable fuels would be particularly important and interesting to explore what safety measures we have there and what maybe safety measures we need to consider implementing at that location. Sundance, I think maybe getting everybody on the same page of what's happening for the first year at Sundance, but I don't know that that's a super high level and long conversation, just because for the most part we're going to be housing workers and volunteers, and maybe getting people understanding that they're not going to have this. I think there's this perception in the general audience of Longmont community members that we're going to have a bigger impact. The bigger impact is kind of getting people's heads around the idea of having resources ready and prepared for when people come back into town in the evening, and maybe making sure that our restaurants and other services are there for those folks. because that's truly putting our best foot forward and understanding the expectation of it. So I think that's, some of those conversations need to be had, and make sure that we're saying the same thing over and over again as we talk about what that looks like.
Are you saying that you see that as a retreat topic or like a study session topic as we're starting to plan?
Retreat topic and kind of a, but not a super in-depth. It's more of like
An update?
Yeah, more of an update and keeping people on brand for what we're trying to accomplish, because we've got a lot of people trying to make this thing work right, and we really want to come across as the community that helps support bringing Sundance here.
Okay, and then before we go on, so Sandy, do you feel like number 3, the team building segment, do you think that's, we can check that off? Okay, so that's done. So looking at kind of processing, fire preparedness, update on Sundance, trying to think, looking at other department pieces. I guess that would be maybe number 2,
Number
what
2.
reports and presentations would be helpful. Now, I did catch in one of them talking about the state of the departments. I'm going to respectfully disagree. It is important that we do know where the departments are as far as what their reality is, especially when we're making goals where there's money implied. And so we need to know kind of what the demands are of staff. It doesn't have to really be in depth as far as what they're presenting to us, but I think it's really important, and I really value that, especially my first couple of years on council, is understanding what the departments have to do, what is their reality, their staffing, so if we're looking for, looking at development and we're looking at adding new initiatives, that we need to make sure that our staff has what they need so they could be successful. So it's just kind of adding that extra lens and perspective. So I would like something where staff does give us, and it doesn't have to be super long or super intense, but I did appreciate, just from my own experience.
Yeah, I was going to ask,
Yes.
I think what I wanted to do is really a capacity conversation.
Yes.
Because I think in all of this, there's a finite capacity. And it's based on what we're already working on and what we're wanting to work on, and balancing that capacity, because you've heard me say this recently, we're at max capacity in some ways, which is going to have to come into the decision-making process in terms of what do we take on now, what do we take on down the road. So
Setting those
I've done a
priorities.
capacity
Yeah.
presentation at the last 2 that may capture that, but I'm going to do it from a holistic perspective of the entire organization, if that's what you're getting at.
Yes.
But I would like to do that just to set the framework.
Of course, yeah. And, and I think about FTE. I've been in close conversations with our fire and public safety, and just, looking at their capacity, especially as we're looking at higher density. What does that mean? Do we have enough people on staff to address if there's an apartment fire? And so just knowing those dynamics, that's just my input. But go ahead, Councilmember Marcin. Oh, did I put on the wrong one? I did. So I apologize.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate you raising that. And I want to be clear about the context of the note that I sent. It was certainly not intended to be, disrespectful of staff or anything like that in the lightest.
I didn't take
I
it
think
that way.
anyone who's been in meetings long enough knows that there are. I'm going to report out for 45 minutes about this, and I think for me personally, I think there absolutely capacity is a valuable conversation. What can staff handle? What individual projects, or maybe we're not aware of, that staff is working on day to day? I think from my perspective, the thing that I would, that just, and again, one of 7, having that space to talk with each other about shared goals and priorities and just knowing that time is an asset, that would be my priority if we had the choice between the 2. So I just wanted to clarify, certainly not looking to be at all, disrespectful of staff or staff time. And that's part of the goal too, is I would hope that staff doesn't have to do a lot of preparation for this retreat. I would hope that it's us that has to carry a lot of that load as we move forward. So thank you, Mayor.
Of course. No, and I didn't take it that way. I just wanted to add some context to that piece. So I'm going to kick it back to Councilmember Christ, and then I'll work my way to the other side.
Well, this is slightly from the side talking about this, but just an observation that most of us have come off of a campaign recently. So we've been on a real listening tour. And it's important to take all that information and discuss it, and even the nuances of it, because a lot of it comes down to the same topics that we talk about here. How do we engage with the public better? How do we see unintended consequences before we end up there? How do we solve some of these problems that have been plaguing us where we're just not quite where we want to be with them? And so I think it takes a wider lens and a wider understanding of how we all approach problems, because I think if we put all of our heads together, we will have every sector covered, and we'll come up with some good ideas, not to overwhelm staff. And I think one of the advantages also of having a second day is we can kind of hash all this out and then have a list of questions for staff to school us, please. I think you have an amazing amount of information, talent, and insights after doing this for so many years. So, so I didn't come up with a list of specific topics yet, although I kind of have them in my head, because I think everybody has heard some of the same things, but maybe in different ways, and I want to hear all those different ways that people come to us with concerns, but also, what they like and what they don't like. Some things are positive for some people and negative for others, but what are the roots of that?
And Mayor Hidalgo Faring, one thing that I was thinking about with respect to Councilmember Christ's motion at the beginning of this particular council session around taking a look at the National Civic League's, kind of framework around some of that. We can continue, the current motion is to do that in a pre-session. I assume we would probably be able to still fit in a pre-session before the retreat. I'm looking at Harold and he can say absolutely not. But the pre-session on the National Civic League kind of framework for engagement. But if engagement is something that you'd like to talk about in the retreat, it may make sense to have that discussion at the retreat rather than at a pre-session kind of segregated.
Yes.
So learning more about the National Civic League framework, talking a little bit about, what the community engagement looks like today and what your ideas are for making that more robust over time. That might be a nice one to put together at the retreat if you're interested. Otherwise, we'll run a pre-session ahead of time.
Okay. Do you feel like you need to have it as a pre-session, or can we compile this to the retreat? And I'm looking for your...
I think there are two options. We could actually have them facilitate and have us learn the system, which could be fun, and it also would be something that the public might see.
Yeah.
And or have the conversation earlier, and then at retreat,
either one,
discuss how we might implement that, and maybe both. Maybe we try it out on ourselves, makes ourselves the guinea pigs, and then what we learn from that, we say, okay, we think this would work in this arena or with these types of problems, issues, concerns.
So maybe we'll hold off on the pre-session until scheduling a pre-session until after the retreat. Cover this at the retreat, and then we can figure out how we want to organize the pre-session.
Let's decide if we're going to have a facilitator or not, because I don't think we've decided that yet. But if we're going to have an external facilitator, I would like them to come in and just introduce the topic to us. They don't have to facilitate the whole time.
That would be number 4. Is that kind of what I'm looking at? Okay.
Yes.
So thank you. Okay, and then now Councilmember Prieto.
I have 2 suggestions. Is this an appropriate time?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So one of my suggestions is with potential federal funding cuts coming down the pipeline to some of the social service programs, I would like to add some human service discussions around funding programs and just a general overview of where Longmont stands in meeting some of the community's most basic needs, specifically childcare, eviction prevention, food access, etc. So that's one of them. Staff can just provide us a presentation and we can have a discussion, maybe just let us know, like, this is what we're doing around childcare, this is what we're doing. And of course, including other community stakeholders, because of course the city of Longmont doesn't own all of it. We're working with a lot of community partners who are doing some really good work in the community, but just so we know as council, where do we need to focus our attention? Where do we need to respond? And I'm hoping by then we'll know exactly what that impact looks like to our community and where the needs are. And then I have another suggestion if you want me to pause.
So those two, so childcare and federal funding, and what was? I thought-
Eviction prevention,
Eviction
food access, kind of the kind of the top. So
Yes.
so we're going to have federal impacts that are going to be
Yes.
impacting childcare, housing, like, so eviction prevention was one of the things I was thinking of, and then food access.
Food access, oh, yeah, that was the other one.
Because I know that was identified as one of the needs on the community survey.
And then could that be incorporated in number 2? The reports, presentations?
It certainly could. I mean, many of these pieces, right? Housing, early
overlap,
care,
yes.
and I think last year we added food insecurity as part of the council vision, or security as the vision. And so I do think that this is represented in the current work plan, and certainly could be
Yes, it
discussed
is.
as part of that overview.
Okay. No, that's good. It feels like a lot of that can be interwoven
be
into
part two.
other parts, but, yes, okay, thank you. I was gonna try to, okay, number 1, number 2.
Yeah,
But
I'm
there's
with
so
ya.
many things where, I'm kind of we're gonna go organically a little bit. Councilmember Popkin.
Oh, I had one
Oh,
more
I'm so
suggestion.
sorry.
Yeah.
I remember.
And then just a really small
Yes.
portion of our retreat to talk a little bit about just efficiencies, council efficiencies and work efficiencies and how we function. There's just a lot of little kind of suggestions and areas that I think that we could improve administratively to help us, respond more efficiently, get residents answers to questions more efficiently. And so just a small portion just to kind of talk about, like, what are those priorities? What does it look like? Come to an agreement and then make a move on those.
Okay. Yeah. And then I'll let you kind of decide if that's something, because that'll be our conversation, but kind of where would it embed in the
I can
the
see where
agenda.
that also comes, if we spent some time, first of all, learning about our leadership styles and how we work better with each other and how we communicate with each other, and then maybe move that into how do we have efficient meetings.
I like that, yes.
That kind of piece, and see how the Civic League work also fits into that. Because I think the idea of trying it on ourselves, trying it on yourselves,
I think that's good.
might fit into that as well. So kind of one segment around that, right? Council operations efficiencies and knowing each other. One segment on staff capacities and things like that. One with some presentations, fire, a Sundance update, and and maybe a brief council work plan update. You'll have all that, all the deep dive. We'll have it all written so that it's not huge, long presentations, but we could certainly give some short updates as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
So,
Now,
so like the federal funding piece, that's something that is part of the work plan, and so we can update the work plan, and you can have a good chunk of that deep dive information ahead of time. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Councilmember Popkin.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Sandy, and my fellow council members for all the ideas so far. You actually just addressed maybe 2 or 3 of my suggestions, which I would say a +1 on, like, in some ways a pre-read on some of these informational updates, I think would allow us to kind of fulfill the spirit of Councilmember Marsing's suggestion, which I actually fully agree with. I'd love to have more space for us to all. I feel like that's a limited commodity, is space when we can actually all discuss freely together. And we aren't worried about pushing 11 o'clock at night. So would very much welcome that, and then still appreciate the informational items so we can have the most informed discussion possible. So that just speaks to kind of more presentation information or other updates as like a council comm ahead of time where possible. +1 on Sundance, though I'd take a slightly, I have a slightly different perspective on the opportunity of Sundance than the Mayor Pro Tem on this, in that maybe there's some more opportunities that we aren't fully utilizing. And I think having that discussion kind of in real time in March would be productive, even if it's not fully realized by next January. This is a 10-year program, at least, or commitment to the region. So thinking about how do we grow into this and what we should be looking for, I would.
Okay.
The second, thinking about the vision of like what's our kind of vision for the airport as a council, and plus one, what Councilmember Prieto was suggesting too on like how we work together efficiently. I think you actually asked me a question kind of as we were joining the new term, saying like, what happens when we get emails and are 7 people responding in different ways? Are we like tag teaming this because of open meetings laws and like we can't all be on multiple things? So maybe there's a way we can better like say like, hey, this pair works on this issue, or this ward and this at-large pair will respond on most of these issues, something like that. I don't know what the answer is, but I think that would be a great way to a great time to try to figure out what's the optimal way we can collaborate or support each other on that, so that we're not stepping on toes or sending mixed messages.
I'm going to tell you, I've been here since 2019, and I still don't know.
Has it been a retreat item before?
It has never been, so
Excellent.
I thoroughly support that idea. I want answers.
Excellent. I'll also second the regional resilience discussion, maybe beyond just fire mitigation, and thinking more about, we get a lot of questions about water as well, and I think just having that kind of open discussion about like, hey, how are we with the natural resource situation that we're in and the overall kind of regional climate, and what are we facing, and what kind of challenges are we prepared for, and what's kind of, more of an ambition in terms of preparedness. And then the last 2 things I'll put on the table here, one, as an activity or exercise potentially, given what I've heard from my colleagues, I might suggest that whether it's Sandy or the facilitation team look into the How Now Wow exercise, which allows folks to work together and figure out, hey, what are we trying to do now, or what do we know how to do now? What are we figuring out how to do, but we can do is within our capacity? And what do we not know how to do, but really want to do? And it's kind of a nice way to bucket different goals or priorities. And then I think the last thing I just really want to offer on the table that I didn't see anywhere else is thinking about what our vision is for, we've had some discussions in the Longmont Urban Renewal Authority and in City Council a little bit, but what is our vision for the First and Main area? Like fully, and how do we make that, that might be one of the most significant local development efforts that's happening. I think having a clear understanding of what are we all, staff, council, working towards there for clarity for the community.
So, and that last one, I would assume that's going to be going on to number 1, where we're looking at our work plan, we're
Current
looking
work
at
plan.
our goals, and I think, there's
Certainly related,
opportunity.
yeah.
It's related to kind of how, I'm just kind of thinking about how can we embed some of these topics so they're not isolated, but just kind of interwoven in things that
Sure.
we're covering. So it's not, and how are you feeling like you're looking at this list and?
Yeah, I think if we could offer a lot of pre-work for the council, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
I know I spent a year of my life working on the First and Main visioning exercise and the Main Street Corridor project and listening to the community. And so there's such great information already out there.
Yes.
That work as a foundation and stepping stone. And so the same thing with the airport. I found an old airport business plan the other day. I'm like, these are all the things we're talking about. Huh, okay. And so, if we can provide some of that depth in the packet for council,
yes.
then hopefully we could reduce, the presentation side of it and have more discussion coming from the springboard. Because where it gets tough is when people are brainstorming things that have already been vetted and discussed in the community.
That's right.
So if we can provide that as a foundation for you to be able to take it from there, I think we could
That would be very
reduce the
helpful.
staff presentations and still
And
honor
then-
all of the work
and-
already been done.
Or honor the work that's already been done, and then by that time, we would be able to sit on this, reflect on it, and have our own discussion where you're just kind of getting your popcorn and watching it, watching the sparks fly. Councilmember Colcover.
I really appreciate what Councilmember Prieto said, because yes, looking at all of the emails, it is very confusing who's doing what. So I really applaud that. I also want to add on the federal budget crisis that we're in, and I don't want to water down the very important topics that she brought up, but I know there's a lot of other departments in the city that are waiting on funding to come through that have been paused. I know Vision Zero is also seeing some of those funding. So I don't know if we can have a high-level overview of all of the grants that we're waiting on, and then maybe we can deep dive on some of the ones that we select that are really important. But I think it'd be nice to have a very high level of this is what it looks like on a federal level for all these different departments, and then deep dive into those really important topics. When it comes to Sundance, I would love to see like Visit Longmont come and give us some information on what they're working on, just so we can get up to speed and we're all rowing together, just so we're not stepping on their toes and we're not kind of colliding together. So it'd be nice to invite also some of our boards or outside boards to present as well, if that's possible. And then when it comes to team building, I've done insights discovery. I'm not suggesting that we do that, but it's something really good where we can learn different personalities and how to communicate with each other. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And then, adding on, and I couldn't remember there was something I wanted to ask and I could not remember what it was, and it sparked a memory to add LDDA to the conversation as well.
The Sundance conversation?
Not
Or
necessarily. Yeah,
just
well,
generally?
just in general, like really building, since my start on council, and we've tried, I've made efforts, I've tried, and there seems to be a disconnect between business and council, what we're moving forward, and I think it's just that lack of opportunity to have discussion. So, being able to bring in LDDA, Visit Longmont, LDDA, and Visit Longmont and LEDP into the conversation, and have them kind of weigh in on what they're seeing, what their reality is, and making sure that we're not, unintentionally making, moving forward on priorities that hurt small business. Council Member Marcin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. We've kind of discussed it. Just a conceptual question for staff and for, you, Mayor, and others who've been through the process, Councilmember Chris, Member Tim McCoy, who've kind of, because I'm sitting here and we've got the, the 2023 council priorities chart here, and all of these are still, ECE is still a crisis for working families in our community, and I think any of us could sit down and say, what are the 3 issues that you most want to talk about or discuss in our retreat? And we would probably come up with a lot of the same ones, but we'd all maybe bring something a little bit different to the table. So I guess my question is just process-wise, conceptually, that you're talking about that work plan work that occurs. I guess if you can just talk to me a little bit about how that has occurred in the past and how we together can get to that collaborative conversation around these core issues, because I think so. You get what I'm asking is how do we go about that, and what does that work ultimately entail to get us to a place where we can update these things, where we have an understanding of what are the 3 issues that we all nail into. If you can just quickly kind of help me understand that.
That's a great question. Mayor Hidalgo-Faring and Councilmember Marcin, if you take a look at that chart, at the very base of that is core services. And so part of it is rooting everybody in. This is the 90%, 95% of the things that we do every day to provide public safety, to provide quality of life services and infrastructure to the community. And just letting folks know that that's what it is, and these are the things we're facing this next year, so that you have that in mind in the back of your head. Then as you moved up, equity, safety, and sustainability, this is kind of how we do this work, so it's something just to kind of keep in mind as you're working through your planning. And then the 3 pillars, right? Housing for all, the early childhood care and education, and transportation. Those are huge topics, and there could be 7 billion projects that go under each of those. And so prior councils have chosen specific projects that they've wanted to focus on. I would assume this council would do the same and have some conversation around, are these 3 still the right pillars for this council, and what are the things that you're interested in accomplishing during the time in which you are a council, and how does that look? A part of that is also the places and amenities. That the reason that's a roof on this little graphic is because it is the stuff that kind of encompasses, right? So when you are talking about transportation, you're talking about First and Main, but you're also talking about placemaking and the amenities that are going to come with that. And so ensuring that the places that we are planning are in congruence with the council's priorities. And then behind that is the climate action side. There was a realization from past council that we aren't the only ones that are going to affect the climate, but we do have an effect on the climate. And so ensuring that some of the council goals that we have towards renewable energy and sustainability are in mind as you are going through the planning. So how we have done it in the past have varied depending on how the council wants to look at it. But I think the first real question is, are these still the right 3 pillars for this council? If the answer is yes, and we will show you anyway, here's all the stuff we've done under these so that you can see kind of where we are. And in some cases, we are mid-project in some of these. And so I believe the council still wants us to continue and finish those projects. But now taking a look to the next piece, understanding this is where the core services are, this is where the capacity is, where would this council like to focus during your time? And that's going to be critical because we can't do everything. So to understand what the priority is for this council is what we would try to get through facilitation techniques and brainstorming.
Yeah, and then what that does is lead us into, so when we talk about a capacity conversation, it's not just a physical capacity to get the work done, it's do you have the financial capacity to do it, because your financial resources are always going to be the guiding piece on this, because do you have enough money to do all these things? What are the different financing buckets that you have to look at? Because those two things start driving a lot of decisions in terms of where you move, because the more you dilute the financial capacity, the less you're actually able to do, because you're putting more money into multiple things, and it makes it more difficult to solve that piece of the puzzle. So that's the capacity conversation that we'll need to talk about.
And, you know, the core services portion of this, I think, I've done a lot of strategic planning where everyone is thinking of, okay, what do we want to see in the future vision, which is great. But if you don't recognize that a huge portion, in fact, most of the work that the city does is to provide clean water, reliable electricity, trash services, fire and police services. If there's not that recognition, then we are stretching the capacity way too thin, as Harold reminded me when he first started here.
Okay, very good, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm looking at a calendar here, and I'm thinking about how it's kind of a shame that Councilmember Pareto and Councilmember Kolkhoffers points to the grants and things like that, and this conversation that we're talking about having around our new priorities or potentially new priorities couldn't have come earlier, because just literally the week before, many of us might be going to the National League of Cities conference and wanting to kind of make sure that we're getting the right message out to our representatives in Washington, and the message that we want as a collective council, not after the fact. It's a bummer that and there's no changing it now, but there's just no it's a shame that we couldn't have had somehow conversations about those things, because those are the things that, as we move forward and as we go to talk to members of Congress and also talk to other communities about how they're handling these challenges, would be seriously beneficial to the overall positive and success of this council. So I don't know how to change that, Sandy. I just think that it's kind of something that, as we proceed, maybe there's some way of seeing how we can get a working plan going forward, so that people are relatively on what we think people's priorities will be.
We could certainly provide the list of grants that you all were talking about, the federal grants that we're reliant on or that we're waiting on. We could certainly provide that well before the retreat, we could provide it for NLC if you would.
But also city's priorities for getting those things forward.
So, and are you, I do have a follow-up question. So are you referencing kind of taking what we're getting out of our council retreat in this discussion on federal funding to be able to take it to the National League of Cities? So my wondering is, if we, during our council retreat, allotted some time for council to update the rest of council on what we went through at the NLC conference, and then kind of come to a consensus. Okay, this is what we want to advocate for. I mean, I've hours on the phone with our Congress people, and I'm getting to the point where I'm calling other state Congress people, and they're like, just so at least if we can come together on a consensus and messaging, then we take what we've learned from National League of Cities, have some conversation around that, come up with what our priorities are, and how we can advocate that via phone call or email to our Congress people. Okay, that would be led by us, not you guys. Councilmember Popkin.
Yeah, thank you. Just to also piggyback on this discussion. So, just speaking from experience as someone who's led delegations of other city councils sometimes in DC, that's one of the less, from my professional opinion, that's one of the less effective weeks to actually really do a coordinated lobbying effort because everyone's there. And so what I'd actually suggest is we have a discussion when we're, and I'm seeing a couple nods there of agreement. And so what I might suggest is, I really do appreciate the point that Mayor Pro Tem McCoy is making, though, and I'm wondering, is this a better topic for maybe a pre-session or a study session earlier in the year and maybe a follow-on and retreat through NLC so we can all go into NLC productively and then maybe think about a coordinated separate, depending on what our federal resource agenda might be or state, then we have a more cohesive strategy and figure out when is the right time to have a delegation from the city go and do this. Then it's much more intentional and oriented, I think, around the strategic goals that you had in mind. And maybe it's informed by retreat, maybe it's maybe we're helping inform retreat. Yeah.
So do we still want to allot some time on our retreat to have this discussion?
Well, I think what I'm trying to get at is does it make sense based on what resources we have in our crosshairs at this moment to do something sooner? If not, then we can maybe do it at retreat or after. But I think either way, we should have a cohesive discussion about how do we best advocate for the resources that we need.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm just kind of thinking maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's something down the line. I just want to get what's on the retreat
Absolutely.
right now.
Well, but if it can be on a pre-session or study session before, then we take it off.
And I'm wondering, this is where I'm going to kick it back to Harold
Mm-hmm.
and staff. I mean, we're running out of days.
I think that's true, Mayor Hidalgo Faring, but I do wonder how many of these could be study sessions as opposed to retreat discussions.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at it, I mean, it seems to me like perhaps the fire and regional resilience could be more of like a single study session topic or one of two or something like that. And the same thing with Sundance. I understand there may want to be some brainstorming, and so maybe that does lend itself better for the retreat, but they seem a little bit more isolated.
Mm-hmm.
It does make sense for you all to come back from NLC and share your learnings. I think that's important, and that could be part of the retreat. Then you determine what your priorities are, and then we take those priorities and lobby them. That's kind of what I have done in the past that seems to work. And not necessarily even going to DC as much as just inviting our legislators here. They come. They like Longmont. So when we invite them, they do come, and we can speak to them much more specifically that way.
Yeah.
So and a suggestion.
I think would that help? Because I would like, and
Absolutely.
I'm kind of trying to think, once we throw everything out on the table, then we can kind of pick and choose, okay, what would be better for an open retreat conversation and what would be more conducive to just having it be part of a study session or, go ahead.
And we can break this up and we can get a look at it and what's really operationally driven and what makes more sense in a study session, what's really more policy driven, that makes more sense in the retreat. And then to Sandy's point, when we look at the Sundance conversation, they're pretty specific in terms of what they want us to talk about, how they want us to talk about it, and they're really driving it. And it may be that may be actually more conducive to a study session down the road once they get more clarity, because they're still trying to do their event and then bring it forward. They've been pretty clear with us to say, there's words, and I'm looking to Jen, if Jen's around.
Oh, no.
I think there's
there she is.
words that we can use, words that we can't use. I mean, it's
a prescription.
We're really taking the lead from them to support them.
Yes.
And that may be more conducive to have maybe a brief presentation on here's what we're doing now that we know of. We'll know more June or July, and then that may be more robust conversation. Is that a?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I just was going to say, generally, Sundance really has to sign off on any use of Sundance in terms of marketing and events that are surrounding. So that's really just the main component, but we can certainly provide more information at whichever time you'd like, either as part of the retreat or part of a work session.
Okay. No, and I thank you for that.
I couldn't, if I was Harold and owned a business, say I'm doing this Sundance
Well, and
event without them signing off on it. And I think everyone's waiting on that. I think Boulder's really still at the forefront. It's in its infancy stage, and
Yes.
we need to watch them a little bit.
Yeah,
But
and
I think
thank
we'll
you
have
for
more
pointing that
later.
out.
I think
Yeah.
we'll have more later.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. I just, I want us to be a good partner in this, and, and I know there's a lot of excitement around that. So I think, if we follow your lead, and I think Jen's already, getting the information we need, and then eventually get an update when the time is right. And I accidentally turned off your mic. Go ahead, Councilmember Prieto.
Sorry, I only had the two, but then we were talking and something came to mind. And I don't know necessarily if it's like a framework in which we use or an agenda item at the retreat. I think you'll tell me right now, Sandy. But I couldn't help but to think, during my campaign, I spoke a lot about how different systems come together and how a lot of the time cities have the resources they need for you to meet the needs of the community. There's just a lack of connecting those systems. And I know, like, a lot of nonprofits, there's a lot of conversations between cities and nonprofits and community partners and schools around, like, how do we resource share? How do we come together? And I think that's something that I'm new, though, so correct me if I'm wrong, that maybe the city's lacking, or a lot of places are lacking, because no one has the time or energy to put toward that to actually make those connections. And then I also want to note, like, Harold, when I was in my campaign, I went to the State of the City, and Harold talked about systems and connecting those systems. And so I was like, he speaks my language, And so I don't know how to put that into the agenda, but I want to make sure that that language is there, or that framework, or maybe it becomes one of the priorities for the city, is really connecting these systems within the city to meet the community need, especially since we're in a moment of time where there's potential loss of funding, et cetera, et cetera. But you would probably know better where we can kind of put that in there.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that several times from council members around connecting with the community. Like, really making sure that we either have events or systems or ways so that we can really connect with the community, whether that's individuals that maybe you haven't heard from traditionally, or whether that's this, kind of this bigger picture systems thinking aspect that you're thinking of. So I can see where that would, certainly fulfill many of the things that you have talked about as a group.
And that could actually, we could probably incorporate that in the capacity conversation and utilizing systems thinking to maximize capacity, both financially and operationally. And then how can you take that systems thinking concept to then apply it to engagement in these other pieces? Because you're right, I think daily we need to do this, and 6 things touch it. How do we connect the 6 things to pull into the one? And I think we could probably incorporate that into that capacity conversation, because that's how you gain capacity, is by utilizing systems thinking to free up capacity in different areas. And so I could do that as part of my piece, if that's what council wants.
Yep. No, I like that.
Mayor, here's what I've got kind of as an outline in my head right now. So I heard, a segment around learning about each other's styles and backgrounds in order to be more efficient and effective as a board. And to be able to make sure that this council leaves the mark that you intend to. And so maybe that's the first part of it. And then moving into that capacity federal funding, what are we doing now? We'll provide kind of a deeper background on what has been done so far, so that you have that in your packets ahead of time. And then Harold can talk about that capacity, that federal funding piece, the grants, and kind of see where that looks like. And then turn that to the conversation around council priorities. Now that you've heard the capacity side of it and you're all, ready to work with each other in an excellent way, how do you then determine what this council's priorities are going to be, and what does that look like for 2026 and through 2030, really, for this team? And then morph that into, okay, now how do we connect with the community on these topics, on other things? Like, what are the connections that we need to be making? If we do those things, let's have a little info session where council is teaching each other what they learned at NLC.
Okay, yeah, yep.
And then in that case, we would move Sundance and the resiliency conversations to study sessions, if that's all right. If that's okay with everybody, still talk about it, but do it during that piece. And then the NCL training is part of that team building, the effectiveness of bodies and things like that. So,
Okay.
let me just double check and make sure I've got this all.
And
Yeah.
if I can add one thing that may become a topic of conversation, and reading the Colorado Municipal League magazine about the upcoming legislation and legislative session, is in study sessions or some point, we may need some time to talk to you all, because this could be a year where there are a lot of battles in terms of home rule.
Yes,
It's
yep.
really starting to show itself that that's going to be front and center in terms of legislation that we're hearing is going to drop. So we may need some space in a study session, or potentially even in a retreat, to where we have some space to maybe talk about that, because our gut's telling us when it hits, it's going to hit. And who's the CML? You're the CML. Who's the CML policy
It's
committee?
Councilmember Prieto.
You're the CML.
It's all on you.
We're in it together.
It's just we're all starting to see it,
Okay.
and cities are getting pretty concerned
Yes.
about what this means.
Yeah,
So
I am.
if we can kind of hold some space,
Okay,
because by the time we get to the retreat, we're going to start seeing what's coming out.
got it.
Probably 2
No,
weeks we'll be starting. Yeah. Probably. Well, no, I'm thinking 2 weeks we're going
We
to see
can
the
tag
first
team. We can tag team.
200 bills drop. That's right.
Okay, good. I know you do. I know you do.
And pardon, Mayor, we would also invite folks from the LDDA to the retreat, visit
Yes.
Longmont and LEDP as part of
Yes.
that. I know you had mentioned involving youth council a little bit more. Would you be interested in
Yes.
inviting them on Saturday?
Ooh, maybe we can have a
Just
lunch
to-
with them?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's just
Okay.
squeeze it in wherever.
They're interested.
And that's a
in-
good one.
They're
Yeah,
interested
we
in
could-
being part of the conversation.
Oh,
so.
wonderful. So if we could have one of those lunches be a roundtable lunch with youth council.
Probably Saturday, since there wouldn't be school.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
that is true. Although they'd appreciate Friday.
I
but-
think they would. I think they would love Friday. Yes. So I will mention
Yeah.
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
all
a
excused.
segment in your retreat about learning about each other, working with each other, spending
Yes.
some time with each other. A segment in your retreat about priorities and what this looks like for you all, and kind of a level setting on what the playing field looks like today from Harold's position with respect to capacity and federal funding, and kind of here's the world we live in today. How do these priorities now match for this particular council? And then turn that into then the community engagement. Connecting, how do we connect community? Does that seem like nice kind of 4 chunks where I'll slide in some of these other pieces?
Yes. No, that sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and, Councilmember Popkin, you had your mic on.
Yeah, one last thing to add into the systems discussion. I think it relates very closely, and it builds on something that Mayor Hidalgo-Ferrin and I were talking about in the last council on how we align our rates with our policy objectives. And so I think making sure we can have that kind of substantive discussion there, I think would complement a lot of what Council Member Prieto was suggesting, some of the conversations, Harold, you and I have had, and building on our waste management, our electricity rates, our airport fees, like how fees and rates align with our policy priorities. So just wanted to introduce that in whatever way that fuses with that conversation.
Councilmember Marcy.
Thank you, Mayor. Very quickly, this has been a great conversation. I hope you have what you need, Sandy. The only thing I guess I haven't heard a lot of discussion about, and maybe I missed it at some point, is maybe folded into that conversation about how we work as individuals and how we work together, some of the logistics of that. Because I think we've had some discussion up here about pre-sessions, about what that all looks like, about, you know, how we actually logistically navigate that. And I think, and Mayor, this is kind of a you question, is you know, time in the retreat for us to say, okay, this is how we want to kind of use those spaces or give you feedback or however you would want to navigate that. Because I was looking at my list, and that's the only thing I think we didn't hit is like, how do we navigate pre-sessions, work sessions, so that we have more, as Councilmember Popkin mentioned earlier, of those opportunities to discuss things a little more freely, work together kind of conversations.
We could certainly fold those into that efficiency and effectiveness conversation.
Yeah.
There's, just keep in mind terminology-wise, there's two kinds of pre-sessions. There's the pre-sessions that Mayor Peck had requested, which happened regularly, and the idea was to update each other on boards and commissions,
Yeah.
but other business was also conducted. And then there's pre-sessions that the council directs us to bring that as a deeper dive and open, free conversation about a discussion, like Vision Zero came as a pre-session. So there are two different pieces. Housing, yeah, there's kind of two different ways to look at pre-session, so it might be great to clarify.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and then that would give me the opportunity to kind of throw back out. I liked the spirit of the pre-session where we updated, but then it just felt very mechanical and inorganic, and it wasn't as helpful as I think it could have been. And I'm still trying to feel, you know, and maybe this is a good opportunity to discuss how do we want those to look in the future.
The one thing I am not hearing is the discussion about boards and commissions and also around the liaison. So I'm assuming that would be a separate pre-session.
And so that's what I was going to add.
Okay.
So the Rule 27 piece where the board appointments, that could be something that is in a study session. It's very black and white. It's addressing this particular piece in our rules of procedure. Our liaison, I'm almost, and I didn't think, did we add, well, I don't think we added that to our council retreat.
I believe that was previous discussion.
That was a previous
Yeah, that
discussion.
was previous
But
direction.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm going to throw that out.
I just
too.
wanted to make sure, because it's currently the agenda that I would bring back to you does not include that
Okay.
segment. That would be separated, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, I would like to know what other council people feel, council people.
'Cause it could go
Council
back in.
members feel about, yeah, if we want
could.
to add this on or add a separate.
Sorry, Don, do you need to jump in there?
No, I'm
Go
just
ahead.
clarifying.
Yes.
The question is to discuss your role as liaisons to the boards.
That's what
as
I
a
was interpreting.
philosophical discussion.
Yes,
Which is different than your rule of procedure.
Yes, and so that's
Let's lay this
different
out.
topics. So
Two different things, yes.
Yes.
But I do believe that at least one suggestion was to discuss both of those at some point. So
Yeah.
I think council wants to discuss both of them. Do you want to do it together? Do you want to do it to retreat, two separate things? How do you
The
want
changing to the Rule 27 is more, I feel it's good about having that on a separate agenda item.
And we have that direction.
And you
gave
have
us
that
tonight.
direction, so
right.
we're
We
good
have
with
that
that.
today.
So the liaison, I'm going to throw this out to council, the liaison and, how we proceed with our appointments. So how we all, as council members, pick our liaison. Is that, I feel like that was one that we wanted to discuss as well, if I recall correctly.
Might as well.
Lightly? Okay,
Lightly.
very, very lightly, just a sprinkle. Councilmember Christ, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Popkin, for that nice segue, because I want to make a final plea for some restorative time, relaxed time, and time with nature. And if we could maybe use a round table instead of long tables. It was, some about where we were last time felt like a typing pool, honestly. and I just, it raises the stress level. I can't be very creative in that scenario. And I would like it to be more relaxed for the public, too.
Okay.
I thought you were going to suggest a massage therapist and a chair, but I was
and it was really useful.
Sorry, now I'm getting a little silly here. Councilmember Marcin.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to comment specifically on your question because what I'm hearing is kind of it almost is a natural like council workflow section after we talk about how we work as individuals, and then how do we want to work with each other, and we logistically hit on pre-sessions, the liaison role, that kind of all fits in naturally before we dive into the policy work conversations. I think we figure out those logistics and then work from there rather than like a separate conversation. So I do see all that kind of fitting into one at the retreat, because I'm viewing this retreat as how do we do this work together over the next 2 years, and not necessarily, although like I said, we can all list issues we want to talk about. Like if we all, I think, want to talk about airport, I want to talk about early childhood ed, everybody knows that. But I think we need to figure out how we work together, both functionally and philosophically.
I like that.
Okay, so we'll
agree.
talk about the
I
board
agree.
liaison, the philosophical conversation about board liaison roles at the retreat.
At the retreat.
And
Okay.
then the more specific council rules and procedures around board appointments you want to do during a public session.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
That I think they have to, because that will lead to direction and voting, which I think does fit better
In that, yes,
And
in
the
the formal
motion,
meeting.
yeah, the motion said February 3rd.
Okay. Yes.
Right.
The motion was specific.
Right. Very specific. I like that. Yes, we
Very
need that.
specific. Yeah,
Okay.
very good.
Okay, so do you feel like you have something well laid out? And then the rest of council, you're not going to leave here today saying, "Arr, she didn't let me get this out." Okay.
So Mayor Hidalgo Faring, I will bring back a draft retreat. This is not the end of the conversation, so that
No,
you
it's
can
not,
approve that
yeah.
and just make sure that I've actually hit it. Last conversation, did you want an outside facilitator or did you want an inside facilitator? My feelings won't be hurt either way, just so you know.
Okay. I mean, I think for some parts, it might be better to have an outside facilitator. I mean, when we're getting updates from Harold, we don't need an outside person to kind of lead that piece. Where do we feel? You know what? I'm going to just kind of work my way. Start over here 2, and then 3, and move my way down. Go ahead, Councilmember Popkin.
Super quick, I tend to lean towards an outside facilitator, especially when there are just different workplace dynamics involved and power dynamics involved, because I'd also want, frankly, you and Harold and others, staff and city managers, to participate in some of the conversation too. Yes, it's council's retreat, but everything that we do is it's an ecosystem here, and so that would be my bias there.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Prieto.
I second Councilmember Popkin.
Mayor Pro Tem McCoy?
Thank you, Mayor. I think an outside person is always good, although I have to commend Sandy for always being such a champ, so I'm going to give a shout out to her.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Christ?
Outside. And I will also say that I would like you as staff to be there, but to also have a relaxed, restorative, and creative opportunity, which I don't see you ever getting. Maybe it happens, but I don't see it ever happening.
Okay, so you have to be there and get a massage chair.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Marcin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to say outside as well, specifically thinking about that leadership portion we talked about. I think it's beneficial potentially for staff as well to learn how we think and operate without having to worry about leading that discussion. The less, my whole vibe is the less work staff does to prepare for this retreat, the happier I individually will be, and the more work we do to get ready, the better that is in my mind.
Yeah.
So I would say outside.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Kalkofer.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to change what everybody else said. I think that's a good idea. External. I do have a massage chair, so if you want me to bring it,
yeah.
I can just load it in the back of my car, and we can borrow it for the couple days.
Yes, please.
But I think it would be good for you all
Bring
to
my lady.
sorry to make everybody excited, but I would like you all to participate in a way that it is easier for you to participate.
Okay.
I just mentioned to Sandy one person I may talk to, just because I've been on he facilitated the RTD Accountability Committee, and just going through that conversation, he may be somebody I talk to because that was as delicate and
wow.
as controversial as anything I've ever been in. Surprise. And he did a really good job of keeping us on task and keeping us focused. And so if it's okay, that may be somebody I reach out to just to see. It was astonishing we got through what we got through
Wow.
and the time frame we got through it.
Very good. Okay. I trust you. Thank you. Yeah, no, the council has spoken, so.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so we are now at final call, public invited to be heard. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? Come on down.
I apologise, I didn't quite catch all of Harold's comments, but I just wanted to share that in my experience, the EQ analysis, it's a personal analysis, that there's a higher correlation to your emotional.
Can you raise your mic? Yes,
Sorry.
and we'll go ahead
There's
and remind me your name again.
Paul Stowles, Sundance Drive. So
okay, thank you.
there's a higher correlation to your emotional quotient than your intellectual quotient. So an EQ analysis as opposed to an IQ analysis is some of you have done it, I'm sure. It's quite a revealing exercise, and you can do simple prep ahead of time. Doesn't take a lot of work, but the results have a good correlation to the real world, and you can share them with each other. And the other one is something called the DISC analysis, which is a slightly more in-depth
yeah.
version you may come
Yes.
across. I've found both of those to be pretty proficient at that. And then the balance of my time, my earlier point was on the profitability of the golf course. What I wanted to say was, it feels to me that the incentives on the management are over-aligned to profitability, and maybe a dimension of customer service or something like that, or quality of service, would balance that if that's behind the scenes what's driving some of this perceived cheapness on my part. Thank you. And who do I give the exhibit to? I'd like you to see the.
Yeah. Oh.
That's the ball dumping. That's the new ones installed at Twin Peaks, but they're removed at Ute, and that's the email correspondence. And Jeff Friesner said he's going to call me tomorrow anyway, so you may not have to take any action.
I was emailing Jeff.
Yeah, he caught me outside.
Great. Thank you very much. Good. I'm glad. Okay, anyone else? Come on down.
Greetings. Hi. New member.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, who are you?
Paul Tiger. I live in Longmont. I'm coming to remind you again about what's going on in the dark hole that is the front entrance. I have engaged other people here. I understand maybe there's some work orders, but they could be shoved aside and rearranged because the lighting's not that important. It's gone on for 20 years. I do fall here. I fall a lot now. I'll fall out there and sue you. I don't want to do that. Please fix up the lighting. Not your, but you run the show, right? Okay. Lighting outside. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so we are now on to, come on down. Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Okay, so Lance, come on down. Who are you?
Lance Whitaker, 1750 Collier Street. I'd just like to remind you really quickly that you guys are going to be talking about the Sundance, and don't forget that we're having a major traffic problem over on Ken Pratt and Hover. While it's a great project, I would love to see it postponed for a couple months after Sundance, but that's probably not going to be able to happen. But anyhow, my concerns are about the traffic problems that we're going to have, and hopefully we can put a good face forward on that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, now we're on to mayor and council comments. Any comments? Okay. Councilmember Kalkoffer.
I'd like to thank everybody on this board. Thank you, Mayor. This has been a true ride for me, and I thank everybody who supported me through this journey. I am humbly proud to be here, and I can't wait to serve next to each and every one of you, and I can't wait to serve our constituents. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. I want to thank you all. I mean, thinking about and kind of processing how did I want to go around our retreat or even our board appointments, and just kind of thinking about, and I appreciate and really value everybody's professionalism and just really coming forward with the best intentions, and that is serving our city. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you. Who's number 7? Oh, Councilmember Marcy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very quick, and this is more for public edification. Mayor knows this, staff is familiar with this. Just in the event that I happen to miss a council meeting suddenly, either or council or an LHA meeting coming up, just for public edification, I'm kind of on baby alert at the moment. We're expecting our third kiddo, a daughter, kind of any day now. So we're just in the event I don't show up one night. That I just wanted the public and everybody to be aware. That's why. It's not that I'm ditching. I, just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. So thank you.
Great, thank you for that. Councilmember Prieto.
Just a comment to Councilor Kilcoffer. We're so happy to have you on council. I think you bring such assets to the team, and your expertise in transportation and beyond, and it's something that we really need. And so we're really happy to have you on council, and we look forward to working with you.
Yes, ditto. Thank you. Councilmember Popkin.
Yeah, I don't have nearly as exciting an update as Councilmember Marsing, but there will be a couple meetings. There will be a couple meetings this year that I know about that I'll have. I'll ask for remote work for attendance privileges, so I'll bring that forward in a future meeting. I won't make a motion now, but I just want to give you guys a heads up on that.
Great.
And I also just really appreciated Councilmember Chris' suggestion to consider alternative locations for our retreat. By the way, I happen to have a soft spot in my heart for Sandstone Ranch. Sandstone Ranch, we're not rebranding it, don't worry. We don't have the permission to do that. And so I appreciate just thinking out of the box on where we gather together too. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Okay, now on to city manager remarks.
Comments, Mayor, Council.
Nice, yes, and city attorney remarks?
No comments, Mayor.
Okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, do we have a second? Second. Okay, so I have a motion on the table. I'm waiting for it to, okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, so we are adjourned.